Hello, welcome to the James Cooley Show. It's your life. I'm your host, Dr. James J.C. Cooley, and wow, I hope everybody had a wonderful, wonderful weekend. I know I did. I'm in sunny California right now, away from Texas a little bit, and my beautiful bride Michelle is still back in Texas. And I tell you, I'm enjoying this California weather and enjoying myself and just relaxing. Just like I said, I hope everybody had a wonderful weekend. How are you doing today, Dr. Cooley?
I'm doing fine, James. I'm doing great. I was talking to our guest pre-show, and I'm really excited to have her on the show. And it's going to be very informative and educational discussion about the topic at hand. But don't tell what the topic is. That's on me. But I'm doing great. It's a little overcast here in Texas, but otherwise, it's a great day.
I won't give away the topic, but I will say that I'm always excited to be talking about fitness and health and wellness and just bringing awareness to our viewers and our listeners, regardless of what they're watching it at on, whether you're watching on E360 television, Transfer TV, YouTube, LinkedIn, over 45 live streaming platforms, podcasts. If you want to be part of the conversation, all you have to do is go to the comments on whichever platform that you're watching us on. Ask any question that you might have. I promise you, we'll get you an answer. Michelle, I cannot wait to get started because this is a very powerful topic. And, I know you're going to pick up most of the conversation and the questions today. So can you please introduce the title of the show, the purpose of the show, and introduce our absolutely wonderful guests?
Yes, well, the title of today's show is Breaking the Silence on Overlooked Women's Health Challenges. And we're getting to know Dr. Dana Cohen, MD. She's a renowned internal integrative medicine specialist, and she's also an author. She's shining a spotlight on important but often overlooked health issues that matter most to women age 40 and over and their partners who want to support them but don't know how. She's going to discuss the misconceptions regarding menopause, hidden viral and cancer risk, and uncomfortable bedroom conversations. So let's tell you a little bit about our guest today. Dr. Dana Cohen is a nationally renowned internal and integrative medicine specialist whose multidisciplinary approach has helped treat thousands of patients using a variety of conventional and complementary therapies. She trained under the late Dr. Robert Atkins, author of iconic Dr. Atkins' New Diet Revolution, and Dr. Ronald L. Hoffman, a pioneer of integrative medicine and founder of the Hoffman Center in New York City. Dr. Cohen was certified by the American Board of Internal Medicine and was appointed to the board of directors of the American College for the Advancement of Medicine, the leading voice of integrated medicine for more than 1,500 MDs, DOs, ND, and master level healthcare providers, and served as advisor to the board of directors and advisor to the education committee. She earned her medical degree from St. George University School of Medicine and completed a 3-year internal medicine residency at Albany Medical Center and was board certified by the American Board of Internal Medicine in 1998. She's also the author of Quench, Beat Fatigue, Drop Weight, and Heal Your Body Through the New Science of Optimum Hydration. Please welcome to the show, Dr. Dana Cohen.
Hi, thank you. So nice to meet you both.
It's nice to meet
you, Doc. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. Just like Michelle was introducing this, and I'm going to sit back and I'm going to become educated and
I'm going to encourage you to ask questions yourself.
And I will. So, Doc, can you tell our viewers and listeners a little bit more about you, where you grew up, what makes you click, some of your hobbies, etc.?
Sure. I grew up in Long Island, originally from Long Island, New York. We moved when I was pretty young to Florida. So I really grew up, I think, my middle school, high school was in South Florida, just west of Fort Lauderdale. I've lived many places since, through medical school, after medical school, and ended up in New York. And I've been here, New York City, and have been here now the longest. It's been since 1998, so almost 25 years that I've been practicing as a doctor, private practice in Manhattan. And what makes me tick. I literally just got back from, you asked how the weekend was. I came back from a conference this weekend. And every time I go to an in-person conference, I am so inspired and excited and pumped. And it's definitely, it's just what gets me going. In-person meetings, talking about the medicine that I love, this lifestyle medicine, nutrition medicine. So I'm in a good place today. You got me at a good day.
Oh, great. Who and what inspired you to get into the medical field? And when did you know?
I did get these questions beforehand, and I glanced at them not that long ago, and I had to think about it. But the truth is, I know, like when I was the age of 3, I made a decision that I was going to be a doctor. And I don't know if it was my parents influencing me or saying, like every parent in those days, to become a doctor was a big deal, was everything. Both my parents were not educated, and I'm actually the first in my family to graduate college and to get here. But I never wavered. I remember from the age of 3, I never wavered. I knew I was going to be a doctor. I knew I was going to get there somehow, and I just did. And I don't know if it was their influence or if I made it up on my own. I have no idea.
I think sometimes, those things are ingrained in you. Like my brother's a pediatrician. He knew at a very young age he wanted to be a doctor and he wanted to be a pediatrician. And this segues into my question. Why did you segue into internal integrative medicine? I mean, why that particular area?
It's so growing up, I don't come from a particularly healthy family at all. Both my parents died fairly young from things that I think, had they lived a healthier lifestyle, they very well maybe change those outcomes. My father was a type 2 diabetic at a very young age, had a bypass at a young age, had a heart attack at a young age. So nutrition was not on our forefront. So here I am in medical school, in residency. For the first time in my life, I remember in residency, I went on an Atkins or a low carb diet, and I never felt better. It was remarkable to me. I'd worked in the VA a lot, the Veterans Hospital when I was at Albany Med. And, I remember thinking, like, here are these very sick men, ill, chronic disease, and they're given 20 minutes twice a year to see their doctor. It's frustrating. It's really hard to be a primary care doctor. Our system needs work. Our system is broken. And honestly, at that point, I was $200,000+ in debt. I can't go back and do another residency. I have to work. And so I saw an ad for a world-renowned wellness center in New York City is looking for a doctor. And I'm thinking, oh, this is going to be a spa or something like that. I'm going to see what this is about. And I answered the ad, and I actually took it off the wall so nobody else would see it. It was for Dr. Atkins, and it was I was on the diet at the time. I ended up meeting with him. And I ended up interviewing, getting the job, and taking the job. And I thank God for him, because he changed my life. He changed the way I see medicine. This was a whole new experience and world for me. And I remember sitting with him and saying, and questioning everything he did. Like, where's the studies on these supplements and these vitamin drips that you're doing? And I questioned him on everything. But the truth is, I saw miracles every single day just by changing somebody's diet, just by spending time and letting the patient ask questions and give them information, having that time to do that. It was a whole different world for me. So I never looked back. That's always where I've been for the last 25 years. And I truly thank God for him.
For those who don't, I'm sorry, I just had this follow-up question. For those who don't know what an internal integrative medicine specialist is or does, can you kind of summarize what that is?
Yeah. So I am an internist, meaning I've trained in internal medicine, which is adult medicine, primary care medicine. That's what I'm trained in. Integrative medicine basically is, this is my definition. And by the way, it's changed names throughout the years. It was complementary and alternative medicine, CAM initially. Then it became integrative. I like the term integrative because I integrate the best of both worlds. I integrate, modern medicine. So if a patient's going to come in and has a rip-roaring infection, I'm going to give them an antibiotic, but if they keep getting antibiotics for this infection multiple times a year, I'm going to talk to them about, well, we got to do something different. We've got to look for root cause. We got to look at lifestyle, look at diet, look at nutrition, look at supplementation. So my job is to try to keep people off of medication using all of those tools. The honest answer, it's good old-fashioned medicine where you're spending the time with the patients and listening to them and really exploring what's going on in their life outside of this doctor's office and outside of that one disease, and trying to put the whole big picture together.
Wow, we got a couple minutes before the commercial, but I got a question. What was it like meeting your first time meeting Dr. Atkins? And when you met him, did you already know his research? Did you know it was him? I'm talking about prior to you answering the ad for the job.
Yeah, I did know. I definitely knew about him because he was having a second resurgence of that book. That's why I was on the diet, because it was like a bestseller. But people don't realize that book was written in 1972. So we're talking now over 20 years later, the second resurgence of that book. So he had a massive resurgence in the 70s, and then again in the late 90s, early 2000s. He was and is a character. He's larger than life. I was very nervous meeting him, I remember, but he was full of personality. He was brilliant. He was extremely brilliant. What people don't realize about him is that, he had an unbelievable mind and memory. He was a cardiologist, but he was funny too. He was incredibly personable. He had a good sense of humor. And yeah, he was a really good guy. I think the thing I say about him, he was the most fearless human being I ever met in my life. I wish I had a tenth of that fearlessness that he had. He took on the AMA in the 70s, the American Medical Association. I'm not too sure I know many doctors that can do that and survive. I wish I had a little bit of that fearlessness, because it's an incredible character trait in a human being.
Wow. We got to take a station break, but this is getting excited. And I have already learned. I'm told you I'm a listener most of this, but I'm gonna pick it up a little bit more in the next segment. But if you want to be part of the conversation, regardless of which platform you're watching it on, all you do is just go to the comments, ask any question that you might have. I promise you, we'll get you an answer. It's your life. We'll be back with more Dr. Cohn shortly after the break. I never wanna leave. Yeah, I'm right where I wanna be. We got something you and me, and I can't get rid of this feeling. Just like a magnet, we're just like a magnet. The things we have can be taken for granted. Now I know that it has always been you. I can't help it, I'm so drawn to you. Just like a magnet, we're just like a magnet. The things we have can be taken for granted. I know that it has always been you. I can't help it, I'm so drawn to you. Hey, I'm so drawn to you. I'm so drawn to you.
Really get a chance to know who you are. And once you know who you are, you truly know who you are, love who you are. Love who you are. You're a masterpiece. Love who you are. Love who you were born to be. Love me some me. That's what I'm talking about. When you leave high school, you gotta know today or tomorrow, hopefully today, what your plans are. Hopefully, there is no bad decision unless there is no plan. Create, collaborate, commit with confidence. Commit with what? Commit with what? In everything that you do.
Hello, welcome back to It's Your Life. I'm your host, Dr. James J.C. Cooley. We got Dr. Dana here. We really bring it, talking about internal medicine, talking about all of the things associated. We get ready to dive off into the topic of the show and dive off into a lot of the things that I believe that we all need to know, not just women, but us. Guys and girls and everybody just need to have an understanding, because we all work together to work each other and help each other out. So if you want to be part of the conversation, just go to the comments or whatever platform you're watching this on, and I promise you we'll get you an answer. Michelle, I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Thank you, James. Dr. Cohen, so the topic of the show is overlook women's health issues and challenges. Can you tell us what types, and we can go one by one. First of all, why is this such an important topic to discuss?
So, history teaches us everything. Probably about 10 years ago, there was this whole big push about women's cardiovascular health. And we found that women present differently than men for heart attacks, and doctors didn't know that. And so we had to bring that to the because women were never involved in the studies, and women don't get heart attacks. Apparently, that's not true. It's the #1 killer of everyone. But it was a big push to talk about women and cardiovascular health. I am just extending that. We need to talk about all of women's health, but the truth is, it really extends over into men. So we're going to talk about HPV, for example. That's not just a women's issue, and it's absolutely not a women's issue, because men get it. Men can give it to women, women can give it to men, and they can cause cancers in both men and women. So, I feel that women, men have the barbershops to talk in. Women don't have that kind of thing. We need women to create communities, be able to speak to this, be able to speak freely to their partners. We need everybody to understand, in order to have, good relationships. I think the whole idea is just to open up the conversation. It's that simple. It's that important, but it's really quite simple. Just making this conversation easy,
Most definitely. So let's talk about the first, thing, menopause. So how's menopause defined, and what's the difference between perimenopause and menopause?
Okay, so there is a definition of menopause. It's the definition is 1 year without a period and blood levels that are consistent with menopause. Now, the truth is, women can have symptoms way before they have that 1 year, or they could have symptoms during that 1 year. So the truth is, I don't love definitions because it doesn't help us as women. I will say, perimenopause, there's no definition. It's a term I think doctors like to throw out because they don't have anything to say. Like, oh, you're in perimenopause. It is what it is. What does that mean? I think it's allowing women to talk to their doctors, listen, I'm experiencing this. Is there, you know, and having options of things that we can do to help with that. Quality of life is everything. If you're not sleeping, you're not healthy, you know, and sleep problems can happen way before menopause and way into menopause too, and way post menopause. So there's the definition is not that important to me as more of symptoms and what we can do about it.
Now, doctor, there's so many different symptoms of menopause, and every woman is different. And, you know, they're all from the, I guess, from beginning of time, hot flashes and women just sweating, you know, has always been displayed, whether it's on the television, in the movies, or talked about. But there's so many more symptoms of menopause. Can you kind of go over some of the most common ones?
Yeah. I just also want to say, you know, those hot flashes for you young women that are listening, it's and men, it's a thing, and it can be a real issue. It can be really uncomfortable. Women can get hot flashes 15 times a day, you know, and women in business, it's a real issue for too, you know. So I think by just having this conversation and understanding it and making it like women not so afraid to oh my gosh, you know, is one thing that I think is going to be helpful. But other symptoms, I mentioned sleep. Sleep is a big one. So sleeping, brain fog, cognition, trouble with thinking is another really big issue. You know, I have so many women think they have Alzheimer's because their hormones are fluctuating. That's most likely not true. It's symptoms of menopause. But the other like vaginal dryness, painful intercourse, what else? Joint pain, frozen shoulder. Frozen shoulder in a menopausal woman is so common. It happened to me, and I was like, what just happened? And it lasted for a year. You know, it's so common in menopausal women, and these are things that we can do something about. Okay. I think those are the big ones.
So there's so many, and you know, for men who may not understand their partners going through menopause, or people may not understand women going through menopause, why is it important for their partners to really understand this is real? I mean, I've heard comments from women that, you know, they like the temperature, the AC cranked up, and their husband thinks they're freezing them in the house because the woman is so hot at night, or a fan next to them. And it's just, how can men understand and kind of communicate with their partners about what they're going through in menopause? Can you kind of address that?
Exactly what we're doing here. We're bringing it to light. You know, men need to understand that women are not hysterical. This is not, you know, these are things that are happening to them and they don't have a lot of control over. So I think, you know, being sympathetic, understanding that, you know, even mood changes, we forgot to talk about depression and mood changes. That's a real big thing with menopause as well. You know, the not sleeping stuff, the heat stuff. So I think it's just about broaching and creating an understanding. You know, I will say men experience some of this stuff too. You know, when they lose testosterone as they age, it's not, you know, the difference is that men have a slower decline. So they're used to it. You know, by the time they're 60 or whatever, they're a little used to like that, you know, it's been a slow and steady decline. Women, it's like, boom, you know, and it's a little harder to deal with. So I think women need to understand men need to understand women. Just by having this conversation, hopefully we're making a difference in that. And it's just about trying to figure out an understanding between the two of you, of like maybe him having an extra blanket on him.
And you know, it's interesting because, you know, most women, menopause, for perimenopause, menopause comes naturally, but then there are women who are forced to have a hysterectomy, and that takes them into instant menopause. So the challenge, and just correct me if I'm wrong, is that they didn't have the luxury of just slowly getting into it. It was kind of like boom, because of the hysterectomy for so many reasons.
So not necessarily true.
Okay.
Because many women experience in natural menopause a boom. You know, it could be as quickly as that. It is sometimes it's an overnight drop, you know, or it feels like an overnight drop. I think that, you know, there are some women that there are signs and symptoms that are sort of leading up to it. There, you know, but in that perimenopausal phase, but it can be similar. But yeah, it's any huge fluctuation in hormones, any big drop or adding of hormones can cause symptoms. So it's always best as a gradual thing. And so when we talk about hormone replacement, if that is an option, it is an option for everyone, most people. But it's if somebody wants to go off of that, let's say I have a woman who's 65 and she wants to go off of hormones for whatever the reason is, we stop hormones like that, she may go right back into symptomatic menopause as if she were 50.
Wow, that's very interesting. Can you kind of address the bone density issues? You know, what happens when a woman goes through menopause? I've been told, you know, I go to the gym. So I've been told that, and I read about it, that, you know, as we age, strength training is good, you know, because of osteoporosis prevention, you know, or slowing down our osteopenia. But what happens with a woman who is in menopause and her bone density? Can you kind of go into that?
Yeah. Bone density is one of the things that is often not talked about or forgotten about by doctors for whatever reason, but it is one of our screening tools that we have. So you know, when somebody's in menopause, they met the criteria, they're a year of no period, they should have a baseline bone density. And so, I guess the question is, I just want to say that we also overlook it in men. So the complete opposite of this conversation is true. I don't think we do enough bone density on men. And there are, I don't necessarily believe every man needs a bone density because they have a lot more muscle than women, and strength. But I do think that we don't do enough bone densities on men who are at risk. And there's risk factors for men. We don't need to, you know, celiac disease, very thin men, men with eating disorders. There are people or men on steroids, maybe long-term steroids for whatever thing. So there's reasons for men to have bone densities too. So that's a little, you know, that's good that we're having this conversation because it goes both ways. But the osteoporosis is, you know, estrogen is what protects our bones in women. And when we lose estrogen that quickly, then it's at that point that lots of reactions are happening that are thinning our bones as we get older. And the truth is, when you are elderly and frail, and you break a bone, your risk of dying from that bone break is very, very high. So bone density and knowing what our bone density is, I think is very important. And yes, strength training, not only for the bones, but to create muscle as we age is so, so important. Oh,
James, you are on mute. Okay, James.
Okay. I'm sorry. I was locked in. I was listening to everything that you all was saying. I was saying that you had mentioned that that for bone density and fragile bones and all of these effect also occur in guys as well, especially if they're not taking care of themselves, getting enough milk and enough things in there to help upkeep the bone. Can you talk a little bit about that? We got about 1 minute before the break.
Yeah, I'm not a huge milk fan as we get older. Honestly, I have to say that. I think we don't have the enzymes to process milk as we did when we were younger. But enough calcium and magnesium, I think, is a different story from food. You know, this might be wrong information, but I think there's as much calcium in spinach as there is in milk. I might be wrong about that. And then the big thing is vitamin D. Vitamin D is so important. I'm going to say darker skin doesn't absorb sunlight as well as lighter skin. So it's so important to have your vitamin D levels checked at your doctor's visits. You can order the test online if you don't have a doctor, but it's really super important. And for so many other reasons other than our bones, but historically vitamin D and bones is really important.
Vitamin D. Tell you what, we're going to take a station break, but we're going to come back and continue this education that you're laying out there and inspiring others, and also bringing attention to not just the women, just like I said, but also us all, that we need to be aware and alert and take care of ourselves. So if you want to be part of this conversation, all you have to do is go to the comments, ask any question that you might have. I promise you, we'll get you an answer. It's your life. We'll see you shortly after the break.
You fight again. And if you want my opinion, I'll let it take me away. Only relief is the four on the floor and the crowd that goes, oh, turn it up, turn it up, turn it up, turn it up, oh, turn it up, turn it up, turn it up.
Hello, I'm Dr. James J.C. Cooley from the United States of America, and I am here to just say, first of all, I'm so happy and honored to be honored to be in the Coffee Book 2023, Unified Brain Z and the other organizations. Thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to be a part of this collection. So welcome back to It's Your Life, and I tell you, Dr. Dana is really putting it out there and putting it down and educating us all. And you know, I tell you, sometimes it's nice to sit back and just absorb all of this education and also learn some of the things on my us guys that we really don't know. And just like Michelle and Dr. Dana was talking earlier about some of the mood swings and this and that, and just getting an understanding why our wives, our partners feel that way is a relief, you know, knowing that this is not something that, like in Michelle's case, like, I'm cold, I'm freezing, I'm this, I'm that. And now just listening.
No, I'm not cold. I'm not cold.
But I am. But listening to another woman.
Dr. Cooley?
You froze.
Oh, you froze? Okay, I'm gonna pick this up. So it's just interesting, and it's very informative to learn about, you know, all this information regarding women's health issues and challenges, and also for their partners to understand. So if anyone has any comments or questions for Dr. Dana Cohen, please just jot them down on whatever live streaming platform that you're on. So Dr. Cohen, let's discuss Wow, untreated STDs, and let's talk about human papillomavirus. And tell us, please, what it is. A lot of people have heard of HPV, but do we really know what it is? Can you start and just explain to the audience?
Yeah, so that's the whole reason why I wanted to have this conversation, how this whole thing came to be. HPV is not just a woman's issue. HPV is a human papillomavirus. Almost every single one of us will be exposed to it if you have any kind of sexual contact in your lifetime. It is extraordinarily rampant. Most of the time, our bodies take care of it. Our immune systems do their job and take care of this virus. But when it doesn't, it is the cause of cervical cancer, which can then be the cause of other cancers like anal cancer, throat cancers, and vaginal cancer. So it's a big deal, and we need to really talk about it. And right now, the only thing, when women goes to, we have no way of testing for it, by the way. There's not a great way of testing for it. The way that we do know is when you go in for your pap, you have your pap smear. Maybe there's you could see it on your pap, you're HPV positive. And in mainstream medicine, all we have is watch and wait. So we're going to watch and wait. We're going to give you 6 months. We're going to repeat the pap smear and then see where we are. That's not good enough. It's just not good enough. If we know that our immune system can take care of this, then we need to do something to change our immune system. And we have a lot of tools as integrative doctors in our belts to do that, really powerful things to do that, instead of that watch and wait, to help clear that virus. And it's so exciting to me to talk about this, because I talk about supplements, I talk about lifestyle. De-stressing is a big deal, in that watch and wait period. Stress, we know, plays a huge role in our immune system. This is not news for most people. So now you have a real opportunity to do something about it, and something's got to give, something's got to change. The food that we eat makes a difference. We need to get rid of that ultra processed food, eat real food. Salads, vegetables, get more vegetables in your diet. Do a green smoothie a day. If you can't find the time to eat a salad, suck down a green smoothie, blended greens with water, and then whatever else you want to put in there. It's a great way to get fiber. It's a great way to get veggies into your diet. And then supplements. We can talk a little bit about supplements. I'm just going to give you 2 supplements that if somebody comes back with a positive HPV on their pap smear, these are the 2 things you need to take. Folic acid, because they've shown that women who have positive HPV historically have low levels of folate in their blood. Okay. So you want to raise those levels by giving them folic acid, which is the vitamin form of folate, which is a B vitamin. Okay. And then the second thing, and this is the thing I'm really excited about, is a supplement called AHCC. AHCC is it's a mixture of medicinal mushrooms that have shown to help modulate or bolster your immune system. And they've done human studies, and they've shown that women can clear the HPV virus faster by taking this supplement, which is amazing. It's actually the most widely used supplement in Japan for immune boosting, for immune modulating, for cancer. And they have a great website, ahcc.net, for those who want to look at those studies. And there's many human studies on this one supplement, which is exciting to me. So stress, diet, supplements for a positive HPV. And then if you can clear it, then your chances of giving it to your partner are much less as well. So super important.
Wow, that's very interesting, especially talking about the supplements recommended. I have a question for you. So sometimes I see these commercials, infomercials, or I've read where teenagers, they're giving like an HPV shot. Does that prevent it, or or human papillomavirus has so many different forms? Can you kind of talk about that?
Yeah. So the HPV vaccine is we don't, where it's still in its studies of whether or not it actually truly helps prevent cervical cancer. That is the whole point of doing the vaccine. So, but the truth is, most of my patients are 40 and above, and that vaccine is not available to them. And most likely they've already been exposed to it in their lifetime. So, so it's kind of, for those people, it doesn't pertain to them, so the vaccine is available, and the hopes are that long-term use of this vaccine are going to help decrease the risk of cervical and other cancers because of it. So, but you're 40, 45, you don't have that option. So we still need to talk about supplementation, lifestyle, and all those other things.
So how can not just women, but people protect themselves from getting HPV? And once you answer that question, we have a viewer who's going to ask about supplements for our previous topic, but let's discuss the HPV first. Yeah. How can we protect ourselves?
Yeah. So it's a really hard question, and unfortunately, I'm so sorry to say that even skin to skin contact can transmit HPV. It is just a virus that's ubiquitous in our nature, in ourselves, unfortunately. But it is more highly sexually transmittable. So doing all the things that you would do to, condoms, abstinence, whatever it may be, it's those kind of things are super important. But I think the best thing we have to prevent HPV cervical cancer is to keep our immune system strong, lifestyle choices, all of the things that we talked about before that. I think that is, supplementation are key. We don't have anything else in this world. We got to keep our immune system strong. So we got to be happy. And when we can, eat well. Once again, get rid of junk foods and ultra processed foods.
My name is John.
Oops, I'm sorry
about that.
We also have to live in this world. So I'm not saying I don't ever have ultra processed foods, but if we can decrease it right now, I think most people's diets is about 60% ultra processed foods. That's unacceptable. If we can get it down to 20%, our bodies are going to be so much healthier because of that. So
I think it's just the easy way to cook dinner, breakfast, or lunch, to just cook ultra processed foods. But one of our viewers, you mentioned supplements regarding, the recommendation, and when you get an HPV diagnosis. Our viewer wants to know, what kind of supplements can we take to help? What women can take to help with menopause?
So there's a lot. There's a lot. I think that it's important to find a doctor who is you can check IFM.org, Institute for Functional Medicine.org, which is a great website to look for like-minded doctors. There are herbalists and nutritionists and health coaches that can help you with all kinds of supplements. But there are definitely some very powerful herbs and supplements that can help with menopause. The big ones that come to mind is something called maca root, which is an herb, chaste tree, which is an herb. The big one is oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm forgetting the big herb that helps with menopause. It'll come to me in a minute. But there are, there's a great product I use. It's called AMPM Menopause. If you Google that, you'll find all of the things that have the big herbs that can really help with symptoms. It also depends on what symptoms you're having. So you can focus your supplements. If your symptom is only sleep, then you may want to do supplements that are more geared towards just sleep. It's hard to just answer a big, broad question like that. You want to find somebody who's really knowledgeable in supplement recommendations. I've spent my whole life doing that with people.
Thank you, Dr. Cohen. I think we headed to a station break, but our next segment, we're going to discuss couples intimacy and conversations to have with your partner, and especially when women are going through certain challenges. If we're going through challenges, so are your partners. So I'm going to segue it back to you, James.
Wow. Yeah, this is interesting. So I'll tell you what, just like Dr. Dana is talking about her, Michelle, if you want to be part of this conversation, all you have to do is just, again, go to the platform that you are watching or listening on, ask a question, we promise you get you an answer. It's your life. We'll see you shortly after the break.
Noah Dingley here, producer of The James Cooley Show, It's Your Life. And the new audio version of James' book, Country Boy, City Boy, A Journey That Ain't Over Yet, is a must-have. James shares his true life story of struggle and success in America. It's both a cautionary tale and a roadmap to achieving the American dream. Get the new audio version of Country Boy, City Boy, A Journey That Ain't Over Yet by James Cooley on Amazon.com or wherever audiobooks are sold.
Hello, and welcome back to the James Cooley Show. It's your life, and not this, like I mentioned, this is an extremely important topic to get a better understanding, and just to sit back and just listen and understand. So I tell you, I'm gonna turn it back over to you, Michelle. This is fantastic. Can't wait to get into the next topic.
Oh, yes, definitely. So, Dr. Cohen, you wanted to kind of discuss a little bit more about supplements.
Yeah, I wanted to just go back to that question when somebody asked about the supplements for menopause. Just really briefly, it was black cohosh. I couldn't think of the name of the herb, but I do want to say once again, it's important to have somebody knowledgeable in supplementation because, for example, if you have breast cancer, you don't want to take hormones and you don't want to take supplements that can interfere with your hormones. So you don't want to take black cohosh or soy-based things, but there are some supplements that like rhubarb root is one that can help with hot flashes. There are homeopathic. So there are other things that you can take, but I wanted to just make sure I said that you know, some people can't take certain supplements. And even though most of the time, 99.99999% of the time, supplements are super safe. You know, I've yet to ever hear of anybody dying from a supplement. But I still think it's important to have that conversation with somebody knowledgeable about supplementation. So
most definitely. Most definitely. So on this last segment, we're going to discuss couples intimacy, basically painful intercourse. Painful intercourse, you know, we talked about menopause, and some of the symptoms with women is maybe a decreased libido, vaginal dryness, and that leads to painful intercourse. Can you kind of, and it's an awkward topic to discuss, but what are some of the issues that you know of that women are going through based on their health challenges, which can lead to maybe lack of intimacy and maybe their partners may need to understand?
Yeah. Yeah. Vaginal dryness being the biggest thing. It shouldn't be an awkward topic, especially with your partner, because it's very real. It's a problem. They're also more at prone for urinary tract infections just because their whole vaginal flora has changed because of the dryness. Urinary incontinence. You know, I hate to say it, most men are not ashamed about talking about their dribbling, you know, and women shouldn't be either, because even if you've never had a baby, you could be at risk for urinary incontinence because of this whole sort of change in the mucosa and the weakening of the collagen in that whole area. The good news is that there are things that can be done about that. So, you know, we didn't even touch upon hormone replacement. Hormone replacement is a real option for people. And, you know, just this year, in January of this year, there was a big news article from the New York Times that most women were wrongly pulled off their hormones because of the Women's Health Initiative study. So most doctors took that study and ran with it and pulled all of their women off of hormones unnecessarily. Before the Women's Health Initiative, hormone replacement was the most widely prescribed drug in the world. After that, because there was a slight decrease or increased risk of breast cancer and other things, and it was mistaken, though. They really didn't. They took it to the extreme, and so, you know, hormone replacement is an excellent possibility for women and men, by the way. You know, andropause is a real thing as well, too. So testosterone replacement in men and hormone replacement in women, plus or minus testosterone, maybe. Testosterone is a great drug. And then there are other things that we can do. If somebody doesn't want to go on hormones for whatever the reason may be, it's not, you know, if it's not broke, don't fix it. But if it's just vaginal dryness, there's a lot that we can do. There's vaginal estrogens that are no-brainer for many women. There's a new FDA-approved vaginal hyaluronic acid, which is what we put on our skin because it's so moisturizing and lubricating. You know, there's lots of topical things that we can do vaginally to help with that. And then now there's also some procedures. Now these can be a little bit expensive. I happen to do one in my office, but it's called vaginal radiofrequency. So it uses heat to rebuild collagen, and it's a bit of a procedure. But then there's also laser therapy. There's lots of things that can be done. I think the important thing is to let your doctor know, search and see what kind of options are available, because there are options available now. And then the other thing is, you know, I mean, like you cannot ignore that. You have to have that conversation with your partner, especially if it's painful, especially if you're getting tears and, you know, that it's friable. The mucosa is very dry and friable. So that is super important to have that conversation.
Yes, and from what I read, there's also vaginal suppositories, I believe, and also, of course, over-the-counter, you know, creams, gels that you can use.
Yeah,
and like I said, everyone's different. And
sorry, that's my buzzer.
That's
I'm gonna ignore it.
So, you know, it really depends on the person, because every person's, you know, situation is different. So, James, do you have any comments on this particular topic, you know, from a male's point of view, and just the education that Dr. Dana Cohen is providing us and to our amazing audience?
I don't have any questions, but I think it's important, just like we said, to understand. And I know you had mentioned this is sometimes a very difficult topic to talk about, but it had to be discussed. You know,
I think the good news is I can't tell you how many women that I've seen that have done something about it, whether it's hormone replacement, topical, or a procedure, that come back to me and say like, oh my God, my husband is like, who is this? Like, this is a new person. It's exciting. It's, you know, it's something, it makes a huge difference, you know? So I think that, the whole, just to know that there are options out there is important, and can make a big difference in your sex life, in your love life, in your intimacy, in your entire relationship. Because just because we go into menopause doesn't mean that our sex life is over. That's ridiculous to think about. It doesn't have to be. But I also want to say one other thing, just I think that's important too. The other thing I want to say is that, you know, libido and you know, just no sex drive is a complicated topic. It's not just, you know, sometimes hormones make all the difference in the world. Sometimes it doesn't. So that's where your partner needs to come in and have this. Oh, if you want to save your relationship, it needs to be talked about. It can't be hidden. And you know, you can't just, you have to open this conversation, and there are, you know, avenues to look at together, whether it's therapy, whether it's a course, who knows? There's lots of things, but libido is a difficult subject. You know, who knows? You're with somebody for 25 years. It's not, you know, it's hard to sort of, but just the idea of bringing that up with your partner, things will start to shift. And to know that you're interested and caring, I think is a big part of the whole big picture, right?
Yes.
To know, like, I'm still interested. I want to talk about this with you, and let's figure out a way together.
You know, you mentioned.
We're out of time. But Doc, if someone wanted to reach out to you for your help and just consult you, how could they get in touch with you?
Best, my website, www.drdanacohen.com, drdanacohen.com.
You know, Doc, this has been a very interesting topic. We'd love to have you back on again if you have time one day.
I would love it. I'm writing a new book, so look out for that.
Yeah, so I want to thank you for taking the time to come on the show today and share all this great information with our viewers and our listeners. I'd like to thank Dr. Michelle Cooley for putting together another great show. I always have to thank my viewers and listeners for tuning in to the James Cooley Show. It's your life, Monday through Friday, 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And I tell you what, always dream big, think big, and be big at everything you do. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place. It's your life. We'll see you then.